Imagine stepping into a place where no sound echoes back. The air is heavy, unmoving, almost suffocating. You take a step forward, your foot scraping lightly against stone. And that's when you notice it. Shapes in the darkness. Not natural formations. Not shadows. Figures. Human figures. As your eyes adjust, the realization hits all at once. They aren't statues placed there. They are people, frozen mid-motion. One reaching forward, another turning to run. One with his mouth open, caught in the middle of a scream that will never finish. Every single one locked in the exact moment they understood what they were looking at, and that it was already too late. That's where most people think Medusa's story begins. A monster in a cave surrounded by the remains of her victims. But that's not the beginning. That's the aftermath. Welcome to Mythos Uncovered. Today, we're going back to the beginning of one of the darkest and most misunderstood stories in all of Greek mythology, the story of Medusa. Before the cave, before the curse, before the name became something people feared, Medusa was human. And more than that, she was known. Not for violence, not for power, but for her beauty. Ancient writers describe her as extraordinary, the kind of beauty that didn't just attract attention, but held it. The kind people remembered long after she was gone. And in a world where gods constantly interfered with human lives, that kind of attention could become dangerous very quickly. But Medusa's life wasn't built around admiration. She had structure. She had responsibility. She served in the temple of Athena. Athena was not like the other gods. She represented control, intelligence, discipline, and order. Everything about her reflected precision and restraint. Her temples were extensions of that identity. They were not chaotic places filled with excess. They were controlled, sacred environments where everything had purpose. The people who served there lived under strict expectations. Their lives were defined by routine ritual and devotion. To serve Athena was to give up chaos and embrace discipline. Medusa was one of those chosen. Her life would have been shaped by repetition, early mornings, offerings, cleaning the temple, maintaining order, following rules that rarely changed. It was not a life of excitement, but it was a life of stability. A life where she had a place, a role, and a purpose that extended beyond herself. And for a time, that life held together. But in Greek mythology, that kind of stability never lasts. At some point, Poseidon saw her. The god of the sea, a force that could not be controlled, known for his power, his temper, and his complete disregard for limits. When Poseidon wanted something, there were very few things that could stop him. And in this case, nothing did. According to the most widely told version of the myth, Poseidon forced himself on Medusa inside the temple of Athena, a sacred place violated in the worst possible way. Not by a mortal, not by someone who could be held accountable, but by a god. And this is where the story changes in a way that feels almost impossible to understand. Because Athena did not punish Poseidon. She punished Medusa. The reasons are debated. Some say Athena's anger was directed at the desecration of her temple itself. Others suggest that even gods had limits when it came to confronting each other. But regardless of the reasoning, the outcome was immediate and permanent. Medusa was transformed. Her hair, once admired, twisted into living snakes. Not still, not symbolic, but constantly moving, hissing, coiling around each other. Her face changed into something so terrifying that it could not be looked at. Anyone who met her gaze would be turned instantly into stone. No resistance, no time to react, just stillness. It wasn't just a punishment. It was a complete removal from the world. Because after that moment, Medusa could no longer exist among people. She couldn't speak to anyone, couldn't look at anyone, couldn't even risk being near another person. Every interaction became deadly. Every moment near someone else became a threat. And so she left. Driven out of the world she once belonged to, Medusa retreated into isolation, far from cities, far from temples, far from everything that had once given her life meaning. She found a cave, a place removed from everything, a place where no one would come by accident. At first, it may have felt like survival, but isolation has a way of changing things. Time passed, days blending into each other, silence replacing structure, the absence of human connection slowly becoming normal. And somewhere in that silence, her story began to spread. And as it spread, it changed. The beginning faded, the details disappeared, and what remained was simple: a monster, a creature that turned people to stone, something dangerous. And in that world, dangerous things are hunted. At first, it was curiosity, someone looking for proof the story was real. Then it became something else, a challenge, a way to prove strength, a way to be remembered. The first man who entered her cave would have moved carefully, slowly, taking in the silence, seeing the statues, realizing something wasn't right. Then hearing movement, a shift, the sound of something alive deeper inside. He would turn, and that would be it. Over time, more came. Some moved quickly, trying to end it before they could be caught off guard. Others moved slowly, trying to understand what they were facing. Some came prepared. Others came overconfident. None of it mattered. The result was always the same. The cave filled. Men frozen mid-motion, some reaching for weapons, some trying to turn away, some already understanding what was happening in their final moment. Every single one becoming part of the same silent warning. Medusa didn't hunt them. They came to her, again and again, and every time, the result was the same. Years passed, long enough for the cave to become something else entirely. Not just a place of isolation, but a graveyard. A record of failure. A place where ambition ended in silence. And then, eventually, someone different arrived. Perseus. Perseus didn't come for glory alone. He came with a plan. He understood what made Medusa dangerous. He understood that strength alone meant nothing. And more importantly, he understood that looking at her directly meant death. So he prepared. With the help of the gods, Perseus was given tools. A shield polished so perfectly it could reflect like a mirror. A weapon designed for a single precise strike, and guidance on how to approach something no one else had survived. When he entered the cave, everything was the same. The silence, the statues, the warning. But Perseus never looked directly. He watched her through the reflection of his shield. Every step controlled, every movement deliberate. The closer he got, the more dangerous it became. One mistake, one glance, and he would end up like the others. But he didn't hesitate. And then, in a single moment, it ended. With one precise strike, Perseus cut off her head. No long battle, no drawn-out struggle, just preparation meeting opportunity. And just like that, Medusa was gone. But her story didn't end there. Because even in death, her power remained. Her head still turned anyone who looked at it into stone. Perseus carried it with him, using it as a weapon. Against enemies, against threats, against anyone who stood in his way. The same curse that destroyed her life became something useful, something powerful, a tool. And that may be the most unsettling part of all. Because when you step back and look at the full story, Medusa was never given a choice. Not in what happened to her, not in what she became, not in the life she was forced to live after. She was turned into something the world feared, and then hunted for being exactly that. Over time, the story changed. The beginning disappeared, and what remained was simple: a monster. But when you go back to the start, when you look at what actually happened, Medusa's story becomes something else entirely. Not just a myth about a creature, but a story about how easily someone can be turned into something unrecognizable, and how quickly the truth can be lost once the ending becomes all anyone remembers. Thanks for watching Mythos Uncovered. If you made it this far, you're exactly the kind of viewer this channel is for. Stories like this don't just survive because they're famous. They survive because there's something deeper behind them, something people keep coming back to. If you enjoyed this video, take a second to like it. It really helps more than you might think. Subscribe if you want more stories like this, because we're just getting started. And let me know in the comments what myth you want to see next. Whether it's another Greek story, something from Norse mythology, or something completely different. There's a lot more to uncover.